Your Master of Ceremonies. For those carrying cell phones, I request that you place them in silent mode. Before we continue, I would like to welcome the Naval Engineering Department Head for Base New Orleans, Commander Jeff Smolik, and the friends and family of Petty Officer Massengill. Thank you all for joining us today. The purpose of today's retirement ceremony is to acknowledge Petty Officer Massengill's 20 years of service to our country. Petty Officer Massengill's career started in 2003 when he attended basic training at Cape May, New Jersey, and graduated Hotel 164. After graduation, he was assigned to the Coast Guard cutter Escanaba in Boston, Massachusetts, where he served as part of Deck Department. In July of 2003, Petty Officer Massengill attended Electrician's Mate A School. After completion of A School, Petty Officer Massengill was assigned to Aids to Navigation Team and Gulfport, filling the independent duty EM2 position as an EM3. Here he qualified his boat crew on the Tanby and Busel, where he supported aids to navigation from the Mississippi-Louisiana border to Ship Island, Mississippi. In August of 2005, Hurricane Katrina devastated the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Petty Officer Massengill spent countless hours supporting the effort to replace aids to navigation so commerce and support efforts could get into the area. In September of 2006, Petty Officer Massengill took a critical fill on the Coast Guard cutter Cypress in Mobile, Alabama, where he sailed the Gulf of Mexico supporting aids to navigation from Texas to Florida. During this time, Petty Officer Massengill found time during the grueling ATON schedule to meet his future wife Sheena and welcome their son Jacob. In the summer of 2009, Petty Officer Massengill and his new family moved to the eastern shore of Virginia, where he was stationed at Sector Field Office Eastern Shore in Chincoteague, Virginia. Here, Petty Officer Massengill worked on everything from government-owned houses, station and sector buildings and equipment, to doing maintenance and casualty response on station and small boats. It was here Petty Officer Massengill learned shoreside electricity and completed the United States Military Apprenticeship Program in shoreside electrical. After 5 years on the eastern shore of Virginia, Petty Officer Massengill made the leap to San Juan, Puerto Rico, where he was stationed on the Coast Guard cutter Heriberto Hernandez. As part of the commissioning crew, Petty Officer Massengill was tasked to find contacts to the cutter's namesake. After scouring the San Antonio, Texas area, Petty Officer Massengill found the mother of Heriberto Hernandez and was able to provide her the Bronze Star and Purple Heart that Heriberto Hernandez earned while serving in Vietnam. Being part of the commissioning crew and dealing with the stress of setting the cutter up and sailing it to final home port, Petty Officer Massengill decided to do it all over again. In the spring of 2016, Petty Officer Massengill moved the family once again, this time to Cape May, New Jersey, where he was assigned to the Coast Guard cutter Lawrence Lawson. Once again, being part of the commissioning crew, Petty Officer Massengill's knowledge and experience made the setup and transition from Lockport, Louisiana to Cape May much easier for the crew. While his time was cut short on the Coast Guard cutter Lawrence Lawson because of shoulder surgery, Petty Officer Massengill was able to use his talents with shoreside electrical to support the facilities engineering branch at Training Center Cape May. In May of 2018, Petty Officer Massengill received orders to Maintenance Augmentation Team MAT Pascagoula in Pascagoula, Mississippi, his third and final trip to the Gulf Coast. Over his 4.5 years there, Petty Officer Massengill played an instrumental part in standing up the Operationally Driven Maintenance Scheduling, or ODMS, for MAT Pascagoula. He became the single point of contact for closing out ODMS packages and provided training to other members on how to add and close out maintenance cards in the system. Petty Officer Massengill was also a key player in the startup of the Meter and Gauge Calibration Lab for Mount Pascagoula. Working with the Industrial Operations Division, he was able to get all the required equipment and arrange the training to certify Mount Pascagoula. His dedication to the program now allows Mount Pascagoula to support 15 Coast Guard cutters on the Gulf Coast, from Grand Isle, Louisiana to Panama City, Florida. Petty Officer Massengill's military awards include the Coast Guard Achievement Medal, 2 awards, Coast Guard Commandant's Letter of Commendation Award, 3 awards, Global War on Terrorism Service Medal, Coast Guard E-Ribbon, National Defense Service Medal, Armed Forces Service Medal, and 10 other organizational, unit, and personal awards. Petty Officer Massengill has been married to Sheena Massengill for 17 years. Both currently reside with their child Jacob in Van Cleve, Mississippi. Before recognizing Petty Officer Massengill, we must honor his family who have played a vital role in this achievement. They have endured through 20 years of sacrifice and remained dedicated through hardships. Today, we honor Petty Officer Massengill's wife, Sheena, and their son, Jacob, who have both provided support while enduring these 20 years of service. Sheena and Jacob, I know that you, more than any of us, are vividly aware of the sacrifice that he has made in the service of our country. I am sure that Petty Officer Massengill's achievement is indeed a reflection of the love and support that you've provided him throughout his years of service. Thank you. And I speak for the entire command when I say how pleased we are to have both of you here today. The presiding official for today's ceremony is Commander Jeff Smolek. Commander Smolek is the Base New Orleans Naval Engineering Department head. A career engineer serving in a multitude of naval engineering positions, both afloat and ashore, Commander Smolek has served for 16 years. For the past 7, he's been here at Base New Orleans, first as the industrial manager, and then in his current position. He is responsible for mission support activities, delivering all naval engineering and industrial support activities within the 8th District. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct honor and pleasure to introduce Commander Jeff Smolek.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it. Good morning, everybody. It is truly a pleasure to be here and to preside over this ceremony. EM1, thank you for granting me that honor. And I'll try to limit my remarks to an hour and a half, 2 hours tops. So, settle in. Chaps, thank you for serving as Master of Ceremonies today. That's a much harder job than this is, and I'm thankful it fell to you. Chief Sherman, there you are, right there, hiding in the middle. Thank you for getting everything set up today and putting this all together. And Daryl, you didn't wasn't planning on you to be here today, but you came in on the red eye and made it. So that's great to have you here too. I'd like to point out a few interesting things I noticed about EM1's great assignment history that we just heard about. I counted 4 different cutters in 3 different classes, 1 ant and 2 other shoreside units. I think it's safe to say that if it has wires and electricity, EM1 has probably worked on it. Electrician's mates, often referred to affectionately as Sparky, often hold a sort of a wizard status amongst the crew, as not many people understand electricity, this present company excluded, and even fewer people want to work with it. Now, whether his desires to continue as an electrician's mate were due to his natural ability or due to the cumulative effect of multiple electric shocks over the years, EM1 was able to bring order and calm to what many people perceive as chaotic and scary. His career took him to some exotic and beautiful locations like San Juan, Puerto Rico, and all the nice port calls one gets to experience when stationed down there, as well as places like Gulfport, Mississippi, Mobile, Alabama, and not the least of all, Pascagoula, Mississippi. I confess, I too have spent a lot of my career on this stretch of I-10, spending almost 10 years at this point in New Orleans. Something about the Gulf Coast gets inside of you and doesn't let go. Many of you may not know that EM1 and I share a hometown. We're both from Loudoun County in East Tennessee. Having both grown up there, I can tell you that in all likelihood we both miss the hills other than the levees that you see down here on the Gulf Coast. And hearing Rocky Top on the radio, Chief Sherman, that's for you. And I will guarantee you that we will never, ever say that Tom Brady is better than Peyton Manning. Well, it's easy to think. It's easy to think about what you miss from where you grew up. One thing that I've learned, and that I believe EM1 shares, is that when you've done as much and seen as much of the country and world as he has, home is where you choose it to be. And that is with the ones you love. Sheena and Jake have been there the majority of his career. Jake, I believe this will be the first time in your life where your dad will not be active duty Coast Guard. And I can guarantee you that EM1 would not have been as successful as he has been if his family was not there to keep him grounded, loved, and cared for. Knowing that no matter where you are in the world, that you have a place that you can choose to call home is a wonderful and invaluable thing. There is a poem that many of you have likely heard, but it holds special meaning to naval engineers that have ever spent any amount of time on watch in an engine room or underway. I'd like to read it for you today because it offers a glimpse of what EM1 and his shipmates have endured and will endure as they serve their country. This poem is called Snipe's Lament. Now each of us from time to time have gazed upon the sea and watched the mighty warships pulling out to keep this country free. And most of us have read a book or heard a lusty tale about the men who sail these ships through lightning, wind, and hail. But there's a place within each ship that legends fail to teach. It's down below the waterline, and it takes a living toll, a hot metal living hell that sailors call the hold. It houses engines run with steam that makes the shafts go round, a place of fire, noise, and heat that beats your spirits down. Where boilers like a hellish heart with blood of angry steam are molded gods without remorse, are nightmares in a dream. Whose threat from the fire's roar is like a living doubt that at any moment with such scorn might escape and crush you out. Where turbines scream like tortured souls alone and lost in hell, are ordered from above somewhere, they answer every bell. The men who keep the fires lit and make the engines run are strangers to the light and rarely see the sun. They have no time for man, no tolerance for fear. Their aspect pays no living thing a tribute of a tear. For there's not much that men can do that these men haven't done, beneath the decks, deep in the hole, to make the engines run. And every hour of every day, they keep the watch in hell. For if the fires ever fail, the ship's a useless shell. When ships converge to have a war upon an angry sea, the men below just grimly smile at what their fate will be. They're locked below like men foredoomed who hear no battle cry. It's well assumed that if they're hit, the men below will die. For every day is a war down there, engages all read red, 1,200 pounds of heated steam can kill you, mighty dead. So if you ever write their songs or try to tell their tale, the very words would make you hear a fired furnace's wail. And people, as a general rule, don't hear of these men of steel. So little heard about this place that sailors call the Hold. But I can sing about this place and try to make you see the hardened life of the men down there, because one of them is he. I've seen these sweat-soaked heroes fight in superheated air to keep their ship alive and right, though no one knows they're there. And thus they'll fight for ages on till warships sail no more, amid the boiler's mighty heat and the turbines' hellish roar. So when you see a ship pull out to meet a warlike foe, remember faintly if you can, the men who sail below. EM1, Sheena, Jacob, congratulations on your husband's, your dad's retirement. Thank you for all your dedication to the Coast Guard, and I wish you a future full of time together.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commander Smollett. Members in uniform, attention. Guests may remain seated. Petty Officer Massengill, please step forward to be formally recognized. Chief Pitts.
Attention to advancement. Petty Officer Massengill is cited for superior performance of duty while serving as the lead electrician. He directly handled 17 operationally driven maintenance schedule packages, resulting in the completion of 1,259 depot level maintenance tasks for 2 fast response cutters. His dedication and oversight ensured that both cutters could execute their operational tasks on the maritime border between the United States and Mexico, enabling them to address illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing in the Gulf of Mexico. An excellent planner, he took initiative to construct a meter and calibration Metcal lab, purchased and installed all necessary equipment, delivered administrative and training procedures, planned and executed all Metcal excursions, and worked closely with the Industrial Operations Division to ensure all equipment was calibrated and certified, which enabled Matt Pascagoula to accomplish more than a dozen Metcal trips, certifying thousands of gauges and meters for Coast Guard cutters across the Gulf. This outstanding dedication ensures that the gauges precisely track the operational parameters of each cutter, preventing catastrophic equipment damage, worker casualties, or jeopardizing the cutter's mission. Petty Officer Massengill's diligence, perseverance, and devotion to duty are most heartily commended and are in keeping with the highest traditions of the United States Coast Guard.
Commander Smolik will now present Petty Officer Massengill with a certificate of appreciation from the President of the United States and his retirement certificate from the Commandant of the Coast Guard. Certificate of Appreciation for service in the Armed Forces of the United States of America. Electricians Mate First Class Jeremy A. Massengill. I extend my personal gratitude and the sincere appreciation of a grateful nation to you for your patriotic service to our country. Your bravery and dedication in our armed forces helped protect your fellow Americans during a critical moment in our history and contributed to a world of greater security and growing prosperity. Your devotion to duty, honor, and country, in keeping with the long traditions of the finest military in the world, embodied the American ideal of selfless service. Our nation owes you an incredible debt. Your commitment and the example you set will inspire future generations to serve with pride and to keep our country secure. You represent the best of our nation, and I join our fellow Americans in saluting your honorable service. I wish you happiness and success in your next chapter. Signed, Joseph Biden, Commander-in-Chief. Certificate of Retirement from the Armed Forces of the United States of America. To all who shall see these presents greetings. This is to certify that Electricians Mate First Class Jeremy A. Massengill, having been retired after honorable service in the United States Coast Guard, is awarded this testimonial as an acknowledgement of duty faithfully performed during a period of over 20 years, done at Washington, D.C., this first day of February in the year of our Lord, 2023. Signed, Carl L. Schultz, Admiral, United States Coast Guard, Commandant. Members in uniform, you may be seated. Petty Officer Massengill, please escort your family to the podium.
You guys prepared your speeches, right?
Yeah.
Not-
I prefer to work on the fly.
I'm just kidding.
Ms. Massengill, the Coast Guard would like to recognize you with a certificate of appreciation and give you a token of thanks for all the sacrifices you have made and support you have given to your husband throughout his career. Certificate of appreciation from the United States Coast Guard. To all who shall see these presents, greetings. This is to certify that Sheena Massengill has earned grateful appreciation for her unselfish, faithful, and devoted service during her husband's Coast Guard career. Her unfailing support and understanding helped to make possible her husband's lasting contribution to the nation. Given this first day of February 2023, signed Carl L. Schultz, Admiral, United States Coast Guard Commandant. Jacob, the Coast Guard would like to recognize you with a certificate of appreciation for all the support you have given to your father throughout his career. To all who shall see these presents, greetings. It is my pleasure to express the grateful appreciation of the United States Coast Guard to you for enduring separation from your father while he served his country. You should know that your father's successful career has been challenging and required unselfish devotion to serve others. Your father was required to do Coast Guard work that prevented him from spending more time with you. He would have preferred to be home to help you when you needed him. But his outstanding work in support of our country was also very important to your future. Your understanding has been essential to his success. The United States Coast Guard thanks you for your service, given this first day of February 2023. Signed, Daniel P. Rogers, Captain, United States Coast Guard Base, New Orleans. Petty Officer Massengill, you may escort your family back to their seats and return to the podium. On behalf of the Coast Guard, men and women with whom Petty Officer Massengill has served, Ian 1 Lopez and Ian 3 Matsios will present him with some gifts. The first gift is a shadow box. The tradition of presenting a shadow box to a retiring sailor is born of early British custom. In the days of sail, when Britain ruled the seas, it was considered bad luck for a sailor, upon final departure from a ship, to allow his shadow to hit the pier before he himself departed the ship. In order to ensure no such misfortune would befall their shipmate, the crew would construct a box of the finest timber and place within it all the things that reflect his accomplishments. Only then could the sailor, with shadow of himself in hand, safely depart the ship and go ashore once and for all. On behalf of Matt Pascagoula, Chief Sherman will present Petty Officer Massengill with the traditional gift of the going away plaques to hang proudly and remember your service aboard Matt Pascagoula. Gentlemen, Petty Officer Massengill.
And you gotta talk.
this concludes today's ceremony. Thank you all for attending today's event.